or something like that. We're going to get cracking on with the next day, which is Thursday, fourth set of parents. Let's see what Barry's going to get up to next. Chapter 1. Well, said the head, it was a great goal. Was it? Said Barry. Yes, I watched it on Game of the Night. Just a shame that afterwards you had to be carried off. I was very, very tired. You must have been. I think it's the first time a player's ever been on a stretcher with a pillow, a blanket and a teddy. Who gave me the teddy? Emily Fwam. That was nice of her. Yes. Are you interested then? In them being your parents? No, said Barry firmly. Too tiring. The secretary entity exchanged a glance and wrote down a word. Barry looked over at their pads. He could see an F, a U, an S, another S, and what looked like the beginnings of a Y. Then the head said, Well, 2 more days left of your package. At least you've had a good night's sleep before this one. He turned over the 4th hourglass, the blue one. He looked at it. His eyebrow went up and then down again, more like a twitch than a raise. You really need to, get on with this, Barry. I'd really rather not leave it until the last minute. Well, I have to do the whole package, Barry said. No, you don't, said the head. If you find some parents you like, we can stop there and then not have to worry about... There it was, the trailing off. Worry about what? Said Barry. The head looked to the secretary entity despairingly. About which one to choose, said Secretary 1. Yes, said Secretary 2. Exactly, said the head. Write that down, secretaries. There was a short pause. Really? Said Secretary 2. The head coughed nervously. Anyway, Barry, what kind of mum and dad would you like to try out next? Barry took out his piece of paper. He'd covered a lot of ground on the list already. He'd had parents that weren't boring, that were famous, that weren't poor, that weren't tired all the time. And then he saw number 6, being really, really, really strict. He couldn't believe it had taken him so long to say it. I'd like parents who let me do whatever I want, please. What happened after Barry said this wasn't quite the same as usual. The head found some parents quickly, but they didn't appear quickly. In fact, they didn't come and pick Barry up at all. They just sent a message saying that he could arrive at their house whenever he wanted. So the head got PCs 890 and 891 to take Barry to where they lived. They took a bus out of the city into the countryside. After a while, they passed a large sign with an arrow on it, which said, The Sea. Barry sat on the back of the seat, in between Taj and Lucas, or PCs 890 and 891, as he was now properly starting to think of them. How's it going? Have you found the right parents yet? Said PC 890. I don't think so, said Barry. Said PC 891. How old are you again? I'm 10 in 2 days. Both of them looked at him sharply. 2 days? They said together. They looked worried. To be honest, they sounded worried too. Yes, said Barry. Actually, about that. The head said something happens to children if they don't find the right parents by the age of 10, but he didn't say what. The PCs carried on staring at him. Now they were looking not just worried, but uncomfortable. Do you know? Well, said 890, I've heard, I don't know, obviously, because I found my mum and dad when I was 7, but I've heard, and here he looked around surreptitiously, and he lowered his voice almost to a whisper, that you go to this really, really dark... So anyway, said 891, interrupting loudly, I gather you had a day with the Rada Well-offs. Is that true? Well, yes, said Barry, but 890, can you just carry on with what you were going to tell me about what happens when... They'd be amazing parents. So much money, said 890. They do have a lot of money, but... And then the word at the agency was that you got a shot at Vlasarina, said 891. Wow, really, did you? Said 890. Yes, said Barry, but listen. And they didn't do it for you either? Barry sighed. They were clearly not going to answer his questions about the thing that happened to unparented 10-year-olds. He shook his head. Okay, said 890, looking out of the window. Yeah, okay, said 891, looking out of the other window. Hey, said Barry, suddenly feeling angry. The Rada Well-offs were crazy. They wanted me to shoot a bird. And Vlasarina, they wanted me to change my name to Barasina. And the Fwams, PCs 890 and 891 both turned round at once. You had the Fwams as well? Said 890. Blimey, did they get you a game for United Kiddom? Said 891. Oh, they did, said 890. That was you. I saw you on TV being carried off hugging a teddy. Well, yes, they did. That was me, said Barry. They stared at him. You got to play at Wobbly Stadium, said 890, for the national team, and you still, said 891, didn't think you'd found the right parents? Barry opened his mouth, but then he didn't know what to say. He looked down, a little ashamed, and he thought to himself, okay, I'm really going to try and like these next ones. Chapter 2. The bus dropped them off by a large field on a cliff. In the middle of the field, which had a lot of cows and sheep in it, stood a very colourful tent, mainly green, but also red and orange and blue, and spray-painted with words like love and peace and, strangely, Neil. Next to the tent was an old double-decker bus, exactly like the ones from Barry's World. Well, exactly like the ones that used to be in Barry's World in the old days, and that he still sometimes saw on TV in old films set in London. The PCs weren't all that keen on trudging across the muddy field to get to the tent, and not sure what to do when they got there. Do we knock? Said PC-890. Knock on what? Said PC-891. PC-890 looked at the tent doubtfully. There was a zip holding the canvas together. The door? PC-891 shrugged, made a fist, and had a go. But his hand just folded into the canvas with a tiny shushing sound. What do you suggest? Said 891, withdrawing his hand. We could call them, said 890. Call them what? No, I mean... Mr. Cool, Mrs. Cool, PC-890 shouted. Are you in there? There was a shuffling inside the tent. Then a man's voice said, Do you, have a search warrant? PCs 891 and 890 looked at each other and at Barry, confused. No, we're from the parent agency. Oh, yeah, cool. The zip came down, sticking a couple of times as it went. Out of the tent came a thin man with a large shock of curly brown hair and an equally curly big beard, wearing pyjamas. Sorry to wake you, sir, said PC-890. He checked his watch as he said this. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. Hey, no worries, man. Which one of you is, Barry? Me, said Barry, putting his hand up. Cool, said the man. I'm Elliot. As he said this, a woman pulled the zip further down and came out of the tent. She was quite a large lady in a flowery dress. Hi, I'm Mama Cool, she said. Then she looked at PCs 890 and 891 and said, Do you work for the boy? She had an accent, a little like Barry had heard back in his own world. On a holiday his family went on to Cornwall. They had stayed at a bed and breakfast in a place called Coverack, where the owner, also quite a large lady, was very proud of how strong her tea was. You can stand your spoon up in this, my lovers, she said, as she put down the cups for Barry's mum and dad, every breakfast. I'm sorry, said PC-890. Well, said PC-891, we work for a boy. I'd normally give you a much harder time, she said, but I won't today because I've brought us our son. She opened her arms and gave Barry a hug. She smelt of mud and horse poo, but in sort of a nice way. Okay, PCs, she said, still holding them. Be off with you, because once we start parenting Barry, we don't want you and your rule books around no more. Okay, said PC-890. Okay, said PC-891. Mind how you go. And they left, waving politely.